ahead.
Well, Brad, is that sort of as near as you can get to your first choice side with the preparations leading into round one that you can put out?
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. Our medical team have done an outstanding job given the position we were in November, December last year with still a few guys recovering from surgery and a few other injuries, and now they have pretty much a full list to pick from. Sam Wright's not too far away. He'll play in a couple of weeks, we hope. Declan Watson's probably our only long term. We're coming off the back of an ACL, so we're getting pretty close to full availability. And there are some other guys who have done the entire pre-season that Luke McDonald, for example, won't play this week. Because we want to have a look at some other guys in position. But we also want to play pretty close to a 22 this week, rather than the full 26 to get full game time into the guys that we think are a good chance for round one.
To get Simkin back at this stage, did that surprise you a bit, his recovery?
Yeah, it did. It did. We thought he was probably going to be a push for round one,
yeah.
But we were keen to be conservative with him to make sure he's right. But he's trained really well, and to my eye, he looks good on the track, and certainly from the medical team's perspective, he's ready to go. So good to get him back in.
And obviously Mason Wood, obviously great to get him back as well beforehand.
Yeah, Mason's in a different boat because he's always, he has a very minor crack in his hand, so he's been able to train and do everything. So we won't need to monitor his game time. He'll just slot back in, we hope, and it'll be good for Mason to get some continuity.
A bit of a wake-up call for Jai. A pretty scary incident that could have turned out a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, look, he turned 20 yesterday, I think, and he, by his own admission, it was an error of judgment. But he's a young player. I mean, we're not going to hang him out to dry. He made a mistake. It's a mistake a lot of people make and have made throughout their lives. But he's fortunate, in a way to be alive. It could have been a hell of a lot worse, and hopefully this is a bit of a wake-up call for him. But knowing the character of Jai and the type of kid he is, I think he'll bounce back from this really well.
So you're close to full strength this week, but Majak's being dropped, I guess. Where's he sort of at heading into the season?
No, he's in the mix. I mean, Richmond play one key forward, so Robbie Tarrant's ahead of him at the moment. Yeah. But we were really encouraged by some of the things he did in the first JLT game. And in fact, some of the things that he's learning, he's picked up really quickly in terms of modern defence. What he needs to learn is just some of the fundamentals of one-on-one defending, and in a way they're the easiest things to coach. So we're still really optimistic that he can play a role in our back half, but this week's not the week to do it.
So does that mean he's setting him up for defence this year? Is it basically? He's purely defence, no other positions?
Oh, look, I think things always change.
Yeah,
I mean, and evolve. But our intention is to give him every opportunity to cement a spot of his own.
Okay.
And at the moment, he sits behind Goldie and Prusy in the ruck. He sits behind Ben Brown and Mason Wood and a few other guys in attack. So I didn't want him going into the pre-season with a mindset that I'm a backup or I've got to push past a potential All-Australian to try and get a game. This is a spot that if he improves and develops, he can make his own.
You just mentioned Goldie and Bruce there. Is that a combination you're still looking to continue with this year?
Oh, we'll weigh it up. Richmond have picked Soldo and Nankervis, so they're in no different position to us.
You see the Richmond forward setup that they went with last year being the way to go in the future, or not, or just their own circumstance and other clubs won't follow suit? No,
I think other clubs will follow suit because history says everyone looks at the Premier really closely and tries to take out the things that worked. Now we're going to play Jarrad Waite, Mason Wood and Ben Brown this week, so that gives you a bit of an indication as to what our view is. But I'm sure if Jack Rewalt's an exceptional forward and Richmond have got their own system, but I'm sure if they had an All-Australian key forward on their list as well, he'd probably play.
The Tigers are pretty much full strength this week as well.
Yeah.
Are you really rapt to get the premiers who are pretty much full strength? And against Essendon, they didn't look like they've missed a beat at all since grand final. Is that a great test for you guys as well?
Yeah, it's a super test. I mean, they if anything look to improve from last year in terms of the way they play, and they've got continued on with their pretty good bill of health as well. So no, it's a really good challenge for us. We're looking forward to it. Pleased that they've got a really strong side in, as most sides will in the JLT 2 game. So we think that they're going to be as good a test as we can get, and that's exactly what we need before round one.
How close are you, Brad, to finalising, I suppose, how that ruck setup will look round one?
No, look, and it's round one, whichever way we decide to go, may not be the way we go round two. So we're just going to have to be flexible and open to all options and challenge Goldie and Prusy to push each other and get better. And it's a bit like the forward setup. If you've got two really, really good key forwards, you tend to play them both. But if one's ahead of the other, maybe your structure takes precedence. But I can't give a definitive answer on that at the moment, but we'll certainly have a good look at both of them potentially together on the weekend and a fair chunk where they're in isolation too.
Sorry, just another quick on the Magic. You mentioned he's sort of behind in the pecking order behind on all lines. I guess this is his 9th year in the system. How's he sort of coping with that fact? And is a little bit, and from your perspective, it's a bit frustrating to see that it looks maybe his progress is a little bit slow. Or?
No, I don't think he's had his first full pre-season in about 8 years. So, and he's shown signs that he can play in all those positions. I mean, we're not ruling him out that he doesn't come in and play in the ruck for us as a genuine one-out ruck or push forward. But I just want to give him an opportunity to cement a spot of his own, and that's not to say in the future that he doesn't push past the other ruckman or the other key forwards. But what we've seen of him in defence so far is exciting. But he's played one game in his life in defence, so we've got a lot of work on the fundamentals of one-on-one defence to go.
Ben Jacobs, obviously, he's had a really good pre-season, looks to set to, I suppose, push a pretty strong case for round one.
Yep.
What does his sort of re-emergence do for your midfield? Do you go back to sort of playing him as a run-with midfielder?
Yeah, look, number one, he just gives us some more run through the midfield, which is a welcome addition. He's a ball winner himself. I mean, he's played roles before where that's not his priority, but as a junior, he was a very high possession midfielder and can play both roles. So it'll be a bit of what the team needs and a bit dependent on the opposition too, exactly what Ben's role is from week to week.
A decent gap between this game and round one. Would you look to play another internal practice game or something like that?
We're going to play a practice game against Williamstown in the VFL. So one of the things we're really looking forward to this year is we've got the flexibility to do that with our VFL team. So we'll seek permission from the AFL, but I suspect there'll be a number of guys who have had limited game time in the 2 JLT games who play in that VFL practice game. But we'll just review the loads after this game and review everyone's individual preparation. But it's great to have the flexibility to play another game if we need it.
The recent re-signings of 2 stars like Higgins and Tarrant, are you hoping that will bolster this club's chances of landing a big free agent at the end of the year?
I don't give that too much thought. It's more about I think it's pretty well documented where we are as a team in terms of our stage of development. And we've got a really solid plan. And I think all it does is reaffirm that players like Robbie Tarrant, Sean Higgins, Ben Brown, Ben Cunnington, Jack Zeeble, who are all signed for the long term, understand the plan, have bought into the plan and believe in it. So that's what I'm most encouraged by, that they understand where we are and we've got a lot of work to do, but they see the way forward and they're keen to be part of it.
Taylor Garner's been managed very carefully this pre-season. It must be great to get him a pre-season game in ahead of round one.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, he's a pretty important part of our side, and he's been. Last year was easily his best year in terms of getting out there and playing, and we got a good glimpse of what he can do. I'm looking forward to getting a number of uninterrupted years out of Taylor, and I think he can be an important part of our setup. But yeah, it's good to have the availability, full stop, and great Taylor's part of it.
What are your thoughts on the ban of the pre-game warm-up?
To be honest, it doesn't affect me one bit. But the players are mixed, I think. Some are devastated. And I think that the thing about players is they're creatures of habit, and they are so meticulous in their preparation that if anything changes, it seems like the world's about to end. But history tells me that players adapt pretty quickly to change as well. So I think it's a question for the players. All I want is what's best for them and that they're game ready and ready to go and not at risk of injury. But I think we'll adapt pretty well, and the sports science guys will sort it out. But I think it's more of a question for the players and the Players Association.
The restriction on the use of the runners this pre-season, Brad, how have you seen that going?
Our runner loves it. He's gone from being the hardest worker on the ground to absolutely doing nothing. It was a challenge in JLT1, and it goes back to how important training is, because you can't use your runner to affect too much change unless a goal's scored. So yeah, it was different, but I mean, like the pre-game warm-up, I mean, if it comes in, we'll just adapt. we'll work out how to cope with the rules that are in place, and I'm not too phased either way.